30 seconds.
In front of all these people, you're gonna pull out a gun and you're gonna shoot an unarmed man.
20 seconds.
So what are you gonna do?
10.
You do know that we're not allowed to shoot people on sight anymore?
It was justified.
The soul of Detroit.
You are a violent man, my friend. You have left a trail of dead behind you.
ML Elric is coming home
I never forgot you.
to a place where his roots run deep.
You might know Marc Feldhauer.
Fire now!
Marc
I dug coal together when we were 19.
But his only loyalty
You racking a load before I put a hole through you?
is justice.
What are you packing?
You'll pay to find that out. Never thought of myself as an angry man.
You're the angriest man I've ever known.
You asked it around your truck around my face. It's gone.
What are you doing?
That is not paid for by them. That is paid for by the people of Detroit.
You might be qualified, Emil.
I'm not qualified for this job.
Let me tell you something. You want to go right now? Okay? You want to go right now?
Hey kids, it's your old pal ML Elric coming to you live from our exclusive, elaborate studios here at Red Shovel Network headquarters with my friend Marc Feldhauer and the angriest man alive, Shawn Windsor.
It changes every week, doesn't it?
And well, some things never change. There's a certain.
I mean, your description. At least you acknowledged me this week, so I guess that's
you're always.
improvement.
I carry you in my heart.
You're smiling, by the way. I like to see that, Mike.
Well, that's gas.
Is that
Just
gas?
like a baby.
No, I
Yes.
thought it was because of the introduction, which was fabulous, put together by the handsome Marc Feldhauer.
But that's why he's smiling, because he made his debut doing a voiceover in the intro, and he could not have been more proud of himself.
No. I think my debut is in the outro, isn't it? I think it is.
No, you have lines in both.
Oh, I was just going to say, stick around for the outro because we're introducing some exciting new voice talent. But I guess it was so good I didn't even recognize it myself.
By the way, have you been celebrating the Lions Super Bowl win Sunday night?
Yeah, I have.
It's all but done.
Because our buddy here texted me, Mark texted me Sunday night and said this was the most excited he'd been since 1991.
I think what I said it's my
most enjoyable.
It's my favorite team.
Yeah,
my
favorite
favorite
team.
Lions team, like collection of players and coaches,
Which is the same thing,
and
right?
the way the season goes. Well, no, I mean because there's been better teams in this one.
But the futures never quite look like this, and just the excitement that you had that I saw and felt from a lot of different people. The fact that you texted me Sunday night like that, right? Staying up past your bedtime?
Well, no.
But
I'm 47. I don't have a bedtime.
This is like the Super Bowl in that the Lions season ended with a win, right? Every other season ends with a loss, either in the regular season or the playoffs. So in that sense,
and on national television, it ended with a win, right? Which is
and how
unusual.
and how they did it, and I don't know. This team just has an identity, which you don't really have that with the Lions.
even I wore a Lions hat 2 weeks ago and realized I looked silly and wouldn't wear it again. But I mean, even I'm like the Grinch. My heart grew a couple sizes this season when it comes to the Lions.
No, you're not allowed.
You've always loved the Lions. You just
he doesn't. He hates them.
No, he doesn't.
Yes,
he
he
put
does.
them aside for a while to protect himself, and I understand that. You know,
No, my greatest fear is that I'm going to lose many hours of productive time on Sunday because I might actually have to watch these mutts because they may be fun to watch. I'll watch them as a fan of the sport, but I can't. It's going to take a while for me to cheer for the Lions. But that's not why we're here today. We're here because we have a special guest, Gregg Sutter, who is the leg man for Elmore Leonard. You're probably sitting here saying, "What is a leg man?"
I did.
You did. Well,
I said that. I said I didn't even know this thing existed.
It's a natural question. A leg man is something that's been employed by writers and at one time newspaper columnists throughout the history of our profession, where when you're trying to dig into something, you need somebody who can get to the bottom of it, people who can move and groove and get the lowdown. Maybe you can't get there yourself. Maybe you're working on something else. It becomes one of these relationships where there's tremendous collaboration, where in the same way that it takes multiple metals to make a really good sword, you have to have a partner who's keen, who's fearless, and who thinks like you do, knows what you're looking for, and can provide you some of that raw material you're looking for to take something that could be great and turn it into something tremendous. That's what Gregg has been doing for years. He's now working on a memoir about his relationship with Elmore Leonard and his work, and he joins us, I think, from Los Angeles. Although you're wearing sort of the Dallas fedora. That's kind of the pork pie hat of the South.
No, I'm in L.A.
L.A. Okay. Where else would you be when you're involved in intellectual property and some great stuff? And you heard us play Justified off the top of the show. We're going to talk to Gregg a little bit about his role in Justified, including something that some keen-eyed people may have caught. But all this is brought to us and possible because of the generosity of Luke Nowacki and Pinnacle Wealth Strategies, and David Hall of Hall Financial. We'll tell you in a little while how they can save you a lot of money and help you prepare for an easy retirement at a time right now we're all worried about our financial future. So thanks to Luke and David Hall. We'll talk about them in a minute. But Gregg is kind enough to join us. Gregg, tell us, where do you apply for a job like this? I imagine it's not something that you found on LinkedIn.
No, they didn't have any LinkedIn back in '79. It came out of being a super fan at a time when Dutch had not yet really been discovered nationally. I mean, we knew about him in Detroit. I mean, he was written up a lot. Not a whole lot, but I mean, people knew who he was. But I had have a friend from Oakland. I went to Oakland University, and Russ Ryan, my good friend, he introduced me to hard-boiled American fiction and film noir, and those are not really exactly where Dutch was coming from, but we wanted to start a newsletter, a zine as they called it back then, called Noir, and we thought, well, how are we going to distinguish ourselves in some way? And, let's do something a little different. So we decided we would do an interview. We would try to do an interview with Elmore Leonard. And he was in the book. We looked him up, lived in Birmingham, Merrillwood Apartments. Called him up. He said, sure, come on by. And we went by and got some books signed. And, he told us what he was working on, which at the time was City Primeval, which, is part of the new Justified series. And I told him, I said, look, I'm in the library a lot. If you ever need anything, let me know. And a couple years later, he called me and said, "Hey, you want to do some research for me?" It was on stress, which was a program, an acronym for a Detroit police program called "Stop the Robberies, Enjoy Safe Streets," which was essentially a decoy squad. There were a lot of atrocities, a lot of violence and murders and all that. And so that was what his character Walter Kuza had been in stress in the book Split Images, which was the first book I worked on in 1981.
So to give people a little context on stress, they took a very Raylan Givens approach to justice, which was often shoot first and let somebody else ask the questions. Because
that was a Coleman policy, wasn't it?
Stress was it was very popular.
Gibbs was the mayor at the time. It was pre-Coleman.
Oh, he got rid of it. I'm sorry. Yeah.
One of the reasons he got elected was he ran against the police chief who oversaw stress and the Big Four, which was basically four of the biggest cops you could fit in a car driving around dispensing street justice. And the only thing liberal about them was their liberal use of violence. But to tell people a little bit about Elmore Leonard, it seems a shame that we might have to tell anybody about his background, but he was a local, I believe he was an ad copywriter who wanted to be a writer. He wrote serialized fictions, Western, probably not as much detective stuff until later, but he used to hang out with the homicide unit at the Detroit Police Department and absorb a lot of what he saw. And he's known for being one of the great dialogue writers and one of the great character writers, and the dialogue and the characters would drive the stories. And a lot of them are set in Detroit, and a lot of them are a lot in Florida as well, and other places. And some of these exotic places, I believe you went to Cuba too, right, Gregg?
Yeah, sure did.
These portraits that he painted were things that may have first been seen by your eyes.
Well, like Cuba was a different story. He was pretty much done with the book when I went to Cuba. I kept bugging him. I'd say, "You want me to go to Cuba?" And he'd say, "No, it's not necessary." And it really wasn't. But then he said, "Yeah, you can go." And I like to say that I was researching the film that was never made, but I did go all over Cuba. But going back to your other question about Dutch, is that, Dutch was born in New Orleans. His father was a dealership. His father was an accountant, and then he became a dealership planner for General Motors. And they moved around the South to Dallas, Memphis, Oklahoma City, and finally settled permanently in Detroit Detroit in 1934, and so Dutch, for all intents and purposes, was a Detroiter, and he liked to act out movies. He loved westerns, the early westerns. He absorbed all that, and he went in the service. He was in the Seabees in the South Pacific, and came home, went to UAD, graduated, and then decided that he was going to go. He was going to go into business with his father. His father, Elmore John Leonard Sr., had gotten the ultimate gift that a good General Motors person would get, which was his own dealership. And it was in Las Cruces, New Mexico. And Dutch was going to go work for his dad. And he was going to go to, believe it or not, Dealer's Son School, which was a thing that they had back then because that was sort of an apprentice son deal. And then in 49, his father had a cerebral hemorrhage and died. General Motors credit, GMAC would not. He wanted to keep it going with his brother-in-law, but General Motors said, no, we don't think so. But somebody slipped him a card and said, here, why don't you go see if you can get a job with Campbell Ewald. So he went there and worked his way up, got on the Chevy account, the Chevrolet account, because up till the 55 Chevy, you couldn't call it Chevy. You had to call it Chevrolet because they were so dowdy. But then finally, when they realized that the burgeoning youth generation was buying these cars, you could call it Chevy. So he did that, but at the same time, he decided he wanted to become a writer, and so he started. He wanted to break in, so he broke in writing westerns, and very influenced by Hemingway. And in the 50s, he would write for the Western Pulps, and he wrote 30 stories in the 50s, including 310 to Yuma, which was his 10th story, and The Captives, which was filmed as The Tall T, both of which are considered to be probably top 100 westerns. The 310 probably higher, and then he decided, well, I want to write something else because the Western market had dried up. So he got his profit sharing bonus from General Motors, but his wife decided that she wanted a house in Birmingham, so they put the down payment on that instead of like using the money that he could use to write a non-Western. And so for the next 6 years, he kind of wandered in the Detroit desert. He worked for George Hearst of Hearst Floor Shifter fame, did all his ads for Hot Rod and Motor Trend, really cool ads, and wrote Encyclopedia Britannica films. And then finally his Western Hombre, his final Western novel from that period, hit. He got some money, got about 10 grand from the studio, and then started writing. Essentially, he wrote The Big Bounce, which is a Michigan novel, basically. And then he started developing properties that got him a Hollywood screenwriting career, a minor career doing that. And so he buzzed through Moonshine War, Valdez Is Coming, Mr. Majestic, Joe Kidd, and then finally he discovered George V. Higgins, The Friends of Eddie Coyle, and realized that, wow, this is how to write crime. So that's when he started writing crime novels set in Detroit. 52 Pickup, Swag, the ultimate Detroit story, the car salesman and the car thief that get together and develop the 10 commandments of success and happiness through armed robbery.
Hey, Greg, speaking of 310 to Yuma, which what I remember about that movie is Ben Foster, who I think I'd only seen in 6 Feet Under, and then to see him play a bad guy in that movie, it was just, and you're right, that's one of the best.
That was the remake.
Yeah, there's been two
you're
of
right.
them, yeah.
Sorry, that's what was in the original.
The original was Glenn Ford.
That's right. But the remake to me is one of the great underrated
really
westerns in the last 30, 40 years. So what are a couple of your favorite films of his books?
Get Shorty, of course, because that was the film that really, cemented his reputation as a bankable writer for Hollywood, because his reputation had been tarnished by the movie Stick, which starred Burt Reynolds, who also directed it, and was horrible. It was like just all this aping around. And then,
Greg, let me ask you this: to that point, was Elmore, was he involved in any? Did he have any say over the movies and in the script? And were there adaptations that he just hated?
Oh yeah, the list is long. I mean, he would always say the book's on the shelf, and that would be his philosophical attitude about some of the horrible adaptations. But no, I mean there were many stinkers. I mean, but there were a lot of. I mean, like I said, 310, Tall T, Hombre.
Out of Sight was pretty good.
I was gonna say, how about Jackie Brown?
Would be another choice of mine. When he worked with talented screenwriters, or talented screenwriters were hired, like Scott Frank, who wrote Get Shorty and Out of Sight, and of course Tarantino, Jackie Brown.
Yeah, did he like Jackie Brown? Did you appreciate
he loved
that?
It.
Yeah.
He loved it. It was his favorite.
It's the tone, right? He's hard to capture.
He always said that Tarantino put the book on the screen, whatever that means. I mean, it's kind of a hard to explain thing, but that the essence of which is interesting, because I was just listening to Ben Mankiewicz's podcast, The Plot Thickens, about the final episode is about basically Jackie Brown, and Tarantino actually made that sort of as a homage to it was based on an Elmore Leonard, but it was an homage to the blaxploitation films that Pam Grier starred in. So it's kind of, but it just worked, and it was so exciting. That I remember being we were on in '97. We were on the set of that summer of Jackie Brown. The scene where the trunk scene where Chris Rock was the guy that was in the trunk. I may have that wrong, but anyway, and Tarantino was there, and he was like an excited kid. I mean, just seeing him, the way he directed, and it was like he wanted to jump in that trunk. He wanted to play all the parts. That was how I felt about him. But yeah, that was.
Didn't Samuel Jackson have some kind of rat tail in that movie? Or,
yeah, and Chris Rock was in it too. But why does Tarantino have rights to any other books? I mean, you would think of Elmore.
There's talk that he still has his fingers in 40 Lashes Less One, but he had what the progression was that when Tarantino was a teenager, he shoplifted a copy of The Switch, which was another one of Dutch's 70s Detroit novels about a Bloomfield Hills tennis mom who's kidnapped and her husband doesn't want to pay the ransom, which the whole big thing about rude people that said ripped him off, but whatever. But anyway, he's ripped this book off. He got caught. Then he went back and stole it again. And that book had the characters of Louis Guerra and Ordell Robbie, who were reprised in Rum Punch. So after Reservoir Dogs, he wanted to make Rum Punch. He wanted to, he loved Elmore Leonard, and the agent said, well, okay, we'll keep you in mind. And then Pulp Fiction came out, and or they saw rushes of Pulp Fiction, and they realized, yeah, well, this guy's got it. Yeah, perfect. And then Harvey Weinstein at Miramax optioned several Elmore Leonards, including Killshot and Freaky Deaky, and and he didn't make any, because Tarantino basically he moves on from obsession to obsession or subject to subject, and so when he was done with Jackie Brown, he was basically done with Elmore Leonard. But he did have a role in this new one, this new series that's coming out this summer, I believe, in saying to Tim Oliphant, do it. Like that, kind of like putting it together, helping Tim. Well, Tim didn't need a lot of pushing, because I'm sure that I run ElmoreLeonard.com, and I put anything up about Justified, and I get hundreds of likes. I mean, people are just still really enamored with the whole thing.
So one of the things I remember about Stick, and this was written by my friend and colleague Neil Rubin when the movie came out, he was doing a profile on Elmore Leonard and how his movies didn't translate to film so well. And one of the reasons I think that Get Shorty was such a great movie is when you read the book, it's almost exactly the movie, and it's tough to do better than Elmore Leonard. But Elmore Leonard had a poster from the movie in his basement, and the tagline for the movie was, the only thing he couldn't stick to was the rules. And Neil caught that Dutch had said the only thing he couldn't stick to was the script.
That's right.
So he would get frustrated. When you sell the rights, you kind of, turn your child loose out in the world. You don't know whether they're going to turn him into a princess or a prostitute. But Greg, I want to talk about some of the adventures that you had with Elmore Leonard, some of the more extraordinary assignments you may have been sent on, and what it was like to be out there and kind of be his eyes and ears and report things back to the master.
Well, it's not as Dutch had such a great imagination that he didn't need a lot. He didn't need me to go out and find him like stuff per se. It was pretty much to record people, do location photography, but because he sort of respected my intuition, my sense of stuff that he would be interested in. That was really where I, had a lot of fun. Like I was down in the early '90s. I wasn't living in Florida yet. I moved to Florida in '92 before I moved out here in '97. But I was like, everybody I knew was either a cop, a probation officer, a judge. All these people that I had come to know.
You must have gotten a lot of trouble back then.
but then I met these local guys, these local lowlifes people that I could hang around with, and this one guy, Bernie Oliver, he said, he understood what I was doing. He says, well, there's going to be a Nazi Klan rally tomorrow in Palm Beach. So this was before this was before the current period when that was still,
when they're good people on both sides, right?
Right. So I had a video camera and I had, still camera and we went over there and it was just hilarious. It was like, there were like about 18 Nazis. There were like Nazis, Klansmen wearing different colors, and a term I coined, which was bikers for racism, which was like to kind of build out this small crew. There was 200 cops there working overtime. Why there were so few Nazis was because a lot of them got lost and couldn't get there in time.
So much for the master race.
It was just ridiculous. And they were all like skinhead type Nazis, and they had a little skinhead girlfriends. And there's one girl was saying, Jimmy, you suck. Your band sucks. And it was like, I just thought, he's got to use this. He's writing Rum Punch at the time. And he kept resisting. I kept saying, look, watch the video. Look at this. This is so cool. And then I had this 3-time rule with Dutch, where I would introduce something. After 3 times, I'd give up. But he didn't say anything. And then he sent me the opening act, because he would always sort of, write an act, figure out put everybody in place and then go from there. And in the opening act, I read it, and it's the opening scene is Ordell and Lewis at this rally.
Well, LB sure is watching us on YouTube and says, cool guest today, guys. Absolutely. So Gregg, did this work where Dutch would say, hey, I want you to go look for this. I want you to send me some patois. I want you to get me some dialogue, paint a scene for me. Or were you just kind of roving around and said, oh my God, the boss is going to love this. I'm going to send this back.
Well, dialogue, basically, I would never presume to say that I brought him dialogue, because that he knew, he could make people talk. Sometimes, there'd be an expression, that, just the one, like I would, or it might be something I said. Like I said one time, I said, yeah, and I was at this, I was at Lily's in Hamtramck, and I said, yeah, and these girls were iggying around, and he used that. I mean, he would listen. He would just love to, be there, fly on the wall, and that's what all the greats, dialogue writers did. Like Raymond Chandler, he used to go to the Hotel Barclay in downtown Los Angeles and just sit there and listen to people talk, and come up with little expressions. But that's how Dutch, one time he got roped into going to a wine tasting party or something like that. And he just says to a guy, hey, what do you do for a living? And the guy said, well, I'm a bull semen salesman. And, and you just knew, okay, that's going to be in a book. Yeah. He just loved the unusual. But I did a lot of library work at the beginning. A lot of, like I would interview, I would go out and do interviews. Like I'd go to Okmulgee, Oklahoma, interview a pecan farmer, or, and then finally in 03, he decided, or 02, he decided to write another cop story. Yeah, previous question you had asked, but in 78, the editor of the Detroit News Sunday magazine commissioned him to write a profile of the Detroit police felony homicide squad 7. And so he took a piece which normally, like when you're writing a feature, you might get 3 or 4 days on it, and then you got to write it up and move on. Well, he spent months with these guys. They would call him up and say, hey, Dutch, we got got a triple in Hamtramck, and you come in the middle of the night. And so that was the basis for City Primeval. High Noon in Detroit was just that experience.
Greg, you mentioned that you did a lot of research and you would travel and interview people, but he was still writing when the internet came out. I mean, did the internet got into your job at all?
Oh, the internet. I mean, it made it so easy. I mean, I would end up in the early 80s. Sometimes I would go up to Lansing, to the State of Michigan Library, just to get one article on something. You would have to go where and they had dialogue and these different expensive, like online utilities. But I mean, you had to know what you were looking for. And then in the early 90s, they gave him a complimentary subscription to Nexus.
Oh, yeah.
which I totally abused. I mean, it was sort of like this friend of mine, had been banned from this one all-you-can-eat restaurant because he really took them seriously.
You could eat a lot.
That was what Nexus was like for me. I mean, so then you could just go for hours and just they ended up like that was a limited program. But then I got Nexus and of course Google and everything else, and I mean we would be on the phone. I would be on the phone with him every day, and he would ask me a question. He would go like, what baseball bat has the best sweet spot if you want to like beat somebody to death? And so I would just be doing, and he'd always like say this to people like, yeah, Greg is like kind of, I could hear him typing and, so, so yeah, I mean, and at the end of his life, toward the end, we were working on Blue Dreams, and, I would find stuff and I would fax it to him. He had a fax machine, but he didn't believe in computers. I mean, he just, one time I put my laptop on his lap to show him something, and he got, kind of like handed it back to me like I was putting like a dung pile on his back. He just hated, he just thought it was stupid. I mean, people would say, oh, you should get a word processor, you can write faster. And he thought that was ridiculous,
Greg,
the idea that somehow would be a plus to write faster.
Did he ever send you into a situation that turned out to be a little stickier than you anticipated, or a situation that he knew might be kind of dangerous? So he said, well, I could go, but I got Greg on the payroll, so let's stick his neck out.
No, he would never, well, first of all, he would never go anywhere because he didn't want to leave his desk. That was what this was all about. He had no problem doing research. He'd done a lot of research in his time, especially for the Westerns. I mean, book research and for Moonshine War, he went down to Kentucky with David E. Davies, the name you might know, who worked with him at Campbell Ewald to study moonshiners and stuff like that. But no, I mean, there was the danger. I got into a little bit of a problem in Milan, Italy. I went into a hotel that was run by the Zips, the Sicilian mafia guys, and I was told that, and I went in there, and I was confronted, and I managed to get out of the situation, but that was me. I mean, he wouldn't do, and and I went to Cuba. I mean, that was on me too. I mean, that wasn't really dangerous, I mean, it was, there was, I wasn't going to be thrown into El Moro Castle or anything, but and then like we had a guy in Rwanda, Neely Tucker, a name you might recall. I mean, Neely knew a guy whose wife was a diplomat in Kigali, Rwanda. So we hired James Skaskill was his name. I'm probably murdering his name, but he took pictures for us in Rwanda, and I said something like, flip, like I don't go to any place where there's genocide or whatever. But I was for Pagan Babies, which was half Rwanda, half Detroit, which is kind of funny. But no, he'd never. I mean, that would never. That would, I would endanger myself maybe, but not.
Okay.
Not.
And Greg, were you paid by the publishing company, by Hollywood, by Dutch himself?
No, Dutch paid me.
Okay. And before we go, I want to touch on Justified again. What was your role in the original series, and to what extent are you involved in the new one that's coming out, where you said Tarantino encouraged Timothy Oliphant to come back and revive Raylan Givens?
Well, in the original series, they bought Fire in the Hole, which was a short story that Dutch wrote for Contentville, which was the first ebook publisher, which was funny because he didn't have ebooks. I mean, he wouldn't even know what it was. But he decided he would bring Raylan home to to Harlan. And so he wrote Fire in the Hole, and then that was FX and the production company. They decided to base a series on that. And so the pilot was basically Fire in the Hole. And then they started doing the series, and they invited Dutch to come on the set. And I was living out here by that time. And so we went to Santa Clarita where they were shooting. And everybody said, hey, write some more Raylan stories for us. And so Dutch, he, as an executive producer, he felt, oh, well, I'm obliged to do so. So he wrote basically 3 stories that were connected into a novel. And as those stories were being written, I would send Graham Yost, the showrunner, I would send him pages, and we would go back and forth like that. And I would periodically, be invited to the set or to premieres, or season premieres, or to like the finale. I was there when they shot the final episode, which was really, really amazing to be in a situation like that. And so that was it. I mean, it was really I was, I was in the writer's room a few times, but never any, I was just a go-between, more or less,
But they named a character after you, didn't they?
They did. Deputy U.S. Marshal Gregg Sutter. That was.
Now, did he get shot or did he shoot somebody?
No, he didn't get shot, and I don't think he shot anybody. I can't. It's been so long, I can't remember. But no, he that was in the second from last season that he was introduced.
Okay.
But as far as the new one is concerned, I don't have anything to do with that. I mean, what they did was they took Raylan alone, which a lot of people are a little, I don't know, the true super fans, they want to see Boyd Crowder, they want to see Walt Goggins' character, they want to see the other characters, but it's just Raylan and a new bad guy from what they did. What it is a mashup between Justified and City Primeval, which was Dutch's 1980 novel, and set in the present. And but they shot it in Chicago.
That's Hollywood for you.
Where they said that Michigan was no longer giving the great deals, so that was kind of, I don't know. They might have shot some back coverage, in Detroit. I just haven't been, I haven't been part of that. I'm just like anybody else. I'm just looking forward to. I think it's going to come out this summer.
Okay, and so to find out more about what you're working on and the memoir, we go to ElmoreLeonard.com.
Well, yes. I mean, you find out more about just Elmore Leonard news. I'm really not talking about the memoir until I finish it.
Okay. Okay.
Hurry up.
But I do regularly post stories, for the fans who are, they're very loyal, and so I'll find stories, that every once in a while I'll publish them.
Well, Gregg, when that memoir is ready to go, we'd love to have you come back and tell us about it and tell people where they can find it. Colette is watching us on Facebook, says interesting stories of a legend. I would say interesting stories of a legend from someone who knew him better than probably anybody. Gregg Sutter joining us, the leg man for Elmore Leonard. Gregg, thanks for making the time. Great stories, and we can't wait to see what makes it between bindings on your memoir. Do you have a working title?
Huh?
He doesn't want to talk about it, ML, until he finishes it.
Just tease us.
Well, the working title is, there was 2 working titles, but the one that's sort of, working for me right now is My Life Starring Elmore Leonard.
Not bad, not bad. Okay. Hey, thanks, Gregg. We really appreciate the time.
Thank you.
Trying to make it home, doing it by my lonesome, pissed off, who wants some? I'm fighting for my soul. God, get at your boy. You try to go, God, fall back. I go hard on this lonely road, trying to make it home, doing it by my lonesome, pissed off.
Well, that's quite a story. I would like to see more Walton Goggins in anything.
Oh, he's so good.
But I think the new Justified will be pretty good. And City Primeval, like a lot of Elmore Leonard's books, it's just fantastic reading. He spans the decades, the genres, everything. Just a national treasure from right here.
We didn't talk about 52 Pickup and Roy Scheider.
If we're going to talk about 52 Pickup, I want to talk about Anne Margaret. I don't care about Roy Scheider.
You don't care about Roy Scheider?
It's still a big...
and it's probably good we didn't talk about Be Cool. Wasn't that that was also John Travolta, right?
Yeah, that
Along
was
with Get Shorty.
That was the
follow-up,
follow-up,
yeah.
Was that based on a follow-up novel, or was that just a script?
Yeah, I think,
Okay.
there was a book.
Okay, but Yeah, no, Elmore Leonard, wow. And Joe Kidd, a great Western. He did so many great things. If you're looking to do some great things with your money, don't bother. You got to hire somebody who really knows what they're doing. So we humbly suggest that you turn to Luke Nowacki of Pinnacle Wealth Strategies.
Oh, yeah. January, big month for finances, right? You got to pay all those credit card bills.
Taxes coming up.
Quarterly taxes are due if you're one of those people. But taxes in March. So a lot of finance stuff, a lot of decisions to be made. You're going to have to know how this is going to affect your current and future financial goals. So that's why we asked Luke Nowacki and his team at Pinnacle Wealth Strategies. They can help you plan for all your financial goals, both today and well into the future. Call Luke today, 248-663-4748 for a complimentary consultations to see if your plan aligns with your goals.
Because when you call Luke, he'll make it all about you, sweetheart.
Securities and investment advisory services offered through Royal Alliance Associates Inc. Member FINRA SIPC. Royal Alliance Associates Inc. is separately owned, and other entities and or marketing names, products, or services referenced here are independent of Royal Alliance Associates Inc.
Now, you probably do need some money right now, or maybe you're looking to purchase a home or refinance that home. Well, I've used David Hall of Hall Financial twice to do a couple deals. They both worked out great, and we think that he might be able to help you too.
Yeah, they can help you become debt-free. You can get a cash-out refinance from Hall Financial. It's a great way to use the equity in your home to pay off high-interest credit card debt. All it takes is a free 5-minute mortgage review with Hall Financial to get you and your family in a better position. Get the money you need right now with a cash-out refinance from Hall Financial. Call Hall Financial, 866-CALL-HALL, or chat with them online at callhallfirst.com.
And when you call David Hall, he'll make it all about lower rates and better savings.
Is that supposed to be your cue to Geek of the Week, or did you want
No. I just want to tell you, if you're trying to reach them, please make sure that our sponsors know that you found out about them from the show. And if you're trying to find a link to their website, you can find it on our website, which is mlsoulofdetroit.com. If you're watching us on Facebook or YouTube, we really appreciate it. One of the things that you can do to help the show, too, is just to subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's been rebranded as Soul of Detroit. All you have to do is subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything. It's real easy. And when you get there, click the bell so you'll get a notification whenever we go live or whenever we have new content available. It really helps the show. We would love to get to 1,000 subscribers. We're at 328 right now. So we have a ways to go, but with your help, I know we'll get there.
All right. Was that your cue for Geek of the Week, or did you want to talk about other things?
Here's my cue for Geek of the Week.
And now, our Geek of the Week.
Right after we talked about the Michigan Supreme Court, we will get to Geek of the Week. Because speaking of justified, we have justices.
What's the song today?
Oh, we're not to 7, 6, or 9.
You got some time.
We're not there
Go
yet?
back to bed.
Sean's in a hurry.
You finish your nap.
No, I just have to use
Someone
the
get him a
restroom.
blanket.
He's late and in a hurry. There was a lot that came out last week. And one of the most unprecedented things you'll ever see, basically what happens behind the scenes in courthouses is largely a mystery. With Supreme Courts, it's incredibly obscure and Byzantine. One of the great pieces of investigative reporting you'll read is a book called The Brethren, written by Bob Woodward and Scott Armstrong, about behind-the-scenes machinations.
Wait, are you the Geek
US
of the Week?
Supreme Court.
We're not there yet. Go back
For
to bed.
using the word Byzantine?
No, it's in the dictionary.
Is that what you're doing? Okay.
I learned it from Dutch.
Oh, okay.
It was one of his encyclopedia entries, or encyclopedia, as some people call it. Yeah. But excuse me. But we saw a peek behind the robes last week, where State Supreme Court Justice Richard Bernstein criticized new State Supreme Court Justice Kyra Bolden for bringing on a clerk who had quite a criminal past. And Mark, what did you make of all this?
Oh, I was just surprised at how hard Bernstein came out about it. Because what happened, Bernstein's 48, this law clerk's 48 too. So, similar age. But what this guy did, I think it was armed robbery when he was a teenager, and he fired at the police chasing him. Thankfully did not hit anybody, but he went to prison. He went to prison for a long time. I believe he was in solitary for like a good 8 years. Yeah. But he got out and earned his law degree. So he has a law degree, and I think he was clerking and working on, prison reform. And she hired him just to clerk, just to be a law clerk. I mean, he's not elected to...
Right, and they have multiple clerks and a lot of support research staff.
And that's really what they do. They do a lot of research. They might write the first version of a ruling or whatever, but they do a lot of the legwork for the justices. And Bernstein came out and was really mad that this guy was hired, because he said they would have to oversee cases about the police. Now, why is it up to Richard Bernstein where this guy can work as a lawyer? That was my first question. What, he's not the state Supreme Court is so prestigious that this guy can't even clerk for him, but he can go do other things. I just thought that was a little weird. And if you're the kind, I would think Bernstein would believe in, prison as being kind of a reform rehabilitation. Yeah. Which this guy did. What he did sucks. It's bad optics for her to hire him, but she hired him.
Yeah, and he was 19, 20 years old when this happened, so it's not like he was just a wee one. He was old enough that he probably should have been pretty close to knowing better. But he did, to become a lawyer, you have to pass character and fitness before they'll give you your bar card. So he had been scrutinized and had passed muster. From all accounts, he seemed to have put together a pretty good career.
He being Pete Martell is the guy's name. 14 years in prison, a decade in solitary confinement, finally paroled in 2008, in 2016 earned a law degree.
Yeah.
And he's enrolled as a doctoral student at the School of Public Policy at U of M.
And outgoing Chief Justice
right,
Bridget McCormick jumped into the fray too.
Taught him,
and said, this guy was an extraordinary student. I wish I had hired him. Kind of wonder why she didn't. But what struck me about this whole thing is Bernstein and Bolden are both Democrats. They kind of ran together, and for one justice to criticize another justice is extraordinary.
It seems childish, doesn't it seem childish?
Well,
and if he had a problem with it, why not talk to her? Why blast it out in the press?
Yeah,
before you talk to her.
And the other thing is, so breaking kind of the black robe of silence is unheard of. But then when people brought up to him, like, well, you guys ran together on the same ticket. He said, well, that's the Democrats put us together. I'm not with her anymore. That's the point where we separated.
That's fair. I think that's a good point.
No, it is fair because the way we nominate Supreme Court justices and attorney general candidates and secretary of state candidates is bullshit. Basically a small number of party loyalists pick who goes on the ballot. Same thing happens with university trustees and things. And obviously they're picking some of the best and brightest because they haven't misled the people about how they run our universities, but that's a whole nother topic.
Well, you're right. It's horseshit how these people get chosen.
No, it's pretty sketchy.
So the system's the geek of the week?
We're not there yet. Go back to bed.
You can take the leak of the week if you want. We got the adults are talking here. We'll be.
I'm shocked you don't have an opinion on this.
We'll ring a bell for you in a minute.
I don't.
But I guess the way I come on the actual. So to watch the drama play out, and now Bernstein has since apologized, and Martell resigned.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Taking a shot at a cop, pretty bad judgment of any age, frankly. But I think if you do believe in redemption and paying your price, this guy did seem to do the work and put himself in a position where he could bring a perspective to some of these deliberations in the Supreme Court. I mean, he has a pretty unique perspective, and he might have been he could always be the one guy that everybody says, oh, there's Martell, turn him loose Martell again, where he becomes ignored. But it seemed like once he got hired, they probably should have given him a chance.
I'm just impressed that you believe in redemption now.
Shawn, your presence on this show every week is proof that I believe in redemption.
I mean? If you don't, then why do we have a parole system, right?
Well, no, I do, but I'm just impressed Mike does. It's nice.
I can see you haven't been listening. Perhaps it's the
I just want to be your leg man and then get invited on a podcast down the road.
Well, I know you're a leg man because you can't stop talking about Fellhauer's.
No,
I don't feel comfortable wearing shorts in this room anymore.
Sweet gams over there.
Not his thighs.
And that'd be an Elmore Leonard thing too. Sweet gams.
Just his calves.
Baby cake.
All right. Shawn wants us to move on.
Oh, man, the geeks have inherited.
And what Shawn wants, he gets.
Did I do that?
That's known.
Does him wanting to play with us again mean that he's turning into a geek, or we're turning into cool guys?
So this week's geek are Jake
Wait
Runyon.
a second. I
You're
thought
still
we just
here.
did the geek, and
Why are
now
you
we're
still
doing
here?
room 7609.
No, what?
Oh,
Why
I'm
are you
sorry.
go back to bed?
I'm sorry.
You need to use the water cabinet. That's the room you should be.
Get out of here. Go to the bathroom.
Concerned with.
Maybe that'll energize you.
Actually, no. That
was God. He just gave me a very. I'm frightened. Now I'm frightened.
Why are you frightened?
This is a frightening look you.
I didn't mean to.
With Shawn's enlarged prostate, this might not be a long enough segment for him to
Are we
empty
talking
his
about
bladder.
the water laser that they use to shave the prostate down? Is that what we're talking about?
What?
Yeah, actually, he can drill through cinder block.
It's new technology. Insurance doesn't pay for it. Medicare does, though.
Boy, and which one of us wanted this to get wrapped
Thanks
up
for that
fast?
PSA.
Yeah, it's
you put
yes.
the P in PSA.
Yes. On behalf of Saul Palmetto Caplitz, Sean Windsor.
You're the Joe Theismann of this show.
Or Theismann.
Yeah, the man.
By the way, how do you not make
the non
Stetson
sequitur
Bennett the Heisman Trophy winner? All the guy does is win Heismans. I mean, national championships.
He's not the best player in college football.
At 5'10", he wins national championships, and Georgia didn't win national championships.
Did you guys? That reminds me. There was a great clip this morning of him throwing a pass to a receiver that was at least 30 yards wide open.
I've never seen a wide receiver that open.
And
in
it
my
said
life.
the caption said, "What quarterback in the NFL can make this throw?"
Well, last time,
by the way,
I felt bad for laughing at that, but
why?
it was
That's
pretty,
hilarious.
It was pretty funny.
And Stetson Bennett is 25 years old. He's older than 19 NFL quarterbacks.
so he's halfway to the pension plan. But the only
great,
other
but come
quarterback I saw throw to somebody that wide open was J.J. McCarthy in Columbus when he hit that
Johnson,
one dude.
yeah.
I mean, I was like, what did
This
everybody...
is way more open than that.
They think it was halftime?
Did that, and maybe we'll talk about this later in the show. I don't know, maybe not. But did it, as a Michigan
that
fan,
covers our options.
As a Michigan fan, did it make you not embarrassed, but a little uneasy to watch TCU lose 65-7?
No, not why would it? Because lost.
TCU beat Michigan and the transitive property
Also
of
had a
college
month.
football.
They had a month to prepare for them, and they prepared much better than we did against them. But yeah, the transitive property, big deal. Does it make Ohio State look better because they almost beat Georgia?
Of course it does.
Well, Michigan beat Ohio State on their field. I mean,
But shouldn't
when you daisy chain them all together, it's just kind of annoying because each game is played once, right?
That's true, but by Ann Arbor logic, Ohio State is better than Michigan because they lost to Georgia by less than TCU did, and TCU beat Michigan, right?
Right,
I mean,
that's kind of how it goes.
I feel like Goodwill Hunting. I need a chalkboard to try and...
All I know is that if you're a Buckeyes fan,
but those are all in neutral fields.
If you're
Michigan
Buckeyes
win-
fans, you're like, okay, yeah, we had the best team, and it didn't happen.
Well, if that's how you want to judge yourself by the
National
game,
title,
game
yeah.
last night. No, I mean, an Ohio State or a Michigan fan judging their team by the game that was played last night. I don't know. I don't see what you can get out of
Teebs
it.
wants us to get to Geek of the Week, and what Teebs
All
wants,
right.
Teebs gets. As I was saying before, I was so rudely interrupted by a man with an rapidly expanding bladder, if not rapidly
you're still
expanding
here.
consciousness. And so much for my resolution to be brief. Jake Runyon and Chase Comiskey. I was trying to be brief, and we get
They're Geeks of the Week. Okay, what's the song?
Yeah. So these guys are professional fishermen, okay? And last year, they got busted.
Oh, are these the walleye guys?
Yes, they filled the insides of
You already
5...
made them Geek of the Week.
No, we didn't.
Yeah, you did.
What?
I'm
The
pretty sure
walleye
you did.
guys?
I'm pretty sure you did. But go ahead.
So
It's a
they
new year.
cheated a walleye tournament?
Yes.
Okay, good.
The fish were caught, and after the tournament director, did I really name these? Okay, well, there's some guys who cheat at cornhole too. They're Geeks of the Week. Damn it.
Sean got his wish.
That's awesome.
Sorry, Teebs.
Why is this so low?
Awesome.
There we go.
And you can dance together all night if you've got the time.
Yeah, I came here from the doctor where I had my annual physical, and they asked me some questions. Is there anything that has happened to you that would indicate that you're experiencing depression? That I wish that it happened just before the doctors. I'm very depressed if I pick the same Geek of the Week twice.
Well, nobody would have remembered if I didn't say anything. So I could be wrong. It could be a totally incorrect correction.
I wish Gregg Sutter was working with me here. I think
He could have done the research on it before he chose it.
He never got left hanging. Anyways.
Oh.
Film noir,
Haven't heard this
detective
in forever.
movies, Elmore, Elvis. Ladies and gentlemen, we bring
Wow.
you Declan McManus with Watching the Detectives.
Last girl's that one with a defect. Cellophane shrink wrap so correct. Red dogs under illegal legs. She looks so good that he gets down and begs. She's watching the detectives. Ooh, he's so cute. She's watching the detectives. When they shoot, they beat him up until the teardrops start. But he can't be wounded 'cause he's got no heart. A long shot at that jumping sign. Invisible shivers running down my spine. Cut the baby taking off her clothes. Close up with a sign that says we never close. You snatch a chew and you match a cigarette. She pulls the eyes out with a face like a magnet. I don't know how much more of this I can take. She's filing her nails while they're dragging the lake. She's watching the detectives. Oh, he's so cute. She's watching the detectives. Oh, and they shoot. They beat him up until the teardrops start. But he can't be wounded 'cause he's got no heart. You think you're alone until you realize you're in it now. Fear is here to stay, love is here for a visit. Call it instant chess when it's past the legal limit. Someone's scratching at the window. I wonder who is a detective from the detective. You belong to the parents who are ready to hear the rest about their daughter's disappearance. So it really took a miracle to get you to stay. It only took my little fingers to blow you away. Just like watching the detectives. Don't get cute. Just like watching the detectives. Get so angry when the teardrops start. But he can't be wounded 'cause he's got no heart. Watching the detectives. It's just like watching the detectives. 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 Watching the detectives.
So this song brings together a lot of new wave royalty. It was produced by Nick Lowe. If you don't know Nick Lowe, he did Cruel to Be Kind and lots of other great tunes. Declan McManus, better known as Elvis Costello, said this was inspired by The Clash and Bernard Herrmann, which is kind of an unlikely pairing. Bernard Herrmann, if you've watched any movies of a certain era, did the music for everything from westerns to war movies to you name it. And it has kind of a western at the end, that sort of jangly guitar at the end where
great song.
Like all the tuning is really loose. But Rolling Stone rates this as 363rd of the 500 greatest songs of all times. It does kind of feel like a little bit like an Elmore Leonard story, where it tells the story of sort of a cynical guy who's experiencing all these things, just kind of meandering through life. It doesn't quite have the great climax like an Elmore Leonard song would have, but we thought the more Shawn has to pee, the more we should give him reasons to sit here at the table and be very uncomfortable.
I just was blown away by the choice. It was great. I love Elvis Costello. I'm sorry that you do not, Mark.
No. I didn't say I didn't like him. I just said I know people love him. I
said you don't love him, and that's okay.
It goes in one ear out the other, right?
Well,
and I think it's just an age thing for me because I wasn't exposed to him at a young age.
So you don't probably like a lot of the '70s singer-songwriters either, right?
Name some. I'll let you know. I have appreciation for
Leo
him.
Sayer.
No, wait, Leo Sayer. That's
You make me feel like dancing.
I'm kidding. Jackson Brown would, right? You know, he'd probably be.
I like James Taylor.
Kenny Loggins.
This is it.
Only with Messina.
Oh, well.
This is it, or whatever the name of that song is. It's a great song.
Is any of your indifference towards Elvis Costello have to do with his kind of prickly personality?
No, zero whatsoever.
Okay.
I'm very good at separating the art from the artist.
Well, he's interesting because he doesn't have that classical, like beautiful voice. I mean, he just kind of is. But songs like Allison, which is one of my favorite songs.
Gorgeous song.
Yeah.
My aim is
Yeah, and even
my aim is not true.
Even
but
his little
I try to be true.
even his little collaboration with Paul McCartney, I thought was kind of nice.
I mean, every day I write the book, right? That's just
Yeah. Now
the musical quality of the songs, they're stunning.
at the risk of making this all about me, I saw him perform live in Tipperary way back in
Fascinating.
1991.
Yeah, no, that's great.
And it felt like he was only performing for me.
Well, I'm sure he was.
But he came storming out on the stage.
Why else would he be there if
like
you
he
weren't
was
there?
angry. It's
Why
like
else would he be
it's
there?
like, I got to do this gig. He comes storming out. He sits down at the piano, starts hammering at the piano. You're like,
there's no reason for him to be there if you're not there.
You're like,
I mean,
Declan, relax. It's a beautiful day. It's a music festival.
Declan.
But
Declan is the name of a company in a movie. It was a bad company. What The Net with Sandra?
The Net
with Sandra Bullock.
What a terrible movie.
I think it's Sandra.
Sandra Bullock.
What a piece of garbage.
Was that Declan? No, that's not Declan.
I don't know. I'm glad you brought it up, though.
I don't know. Yeah.
Doesn't Declan sound like the name of a company that's not doing good things?
Didn't you want to wrap this up?
Yeah, no, let's move on.
So
I'm sorry we're not talking about you being at the concert. Mark, what's next in the show?
No, I want to hear more about
the concert.
Yeah.
Did you smoke weed or did you drop mushrooms or
1991?
also relaxers? So 91, that would have been crank.
No, I was fine with the pint of Smithwick's.
McManus.
That's all I can think of when you say
91. Were we still freebasing?
Also 91? A good union member.
You all know me. My name is McManus.
He stood
I
down.
joined this union some 20-odd years ago for two reasons. To have intercash in exchange for cash.
Here comes
and
the explicit
to
rating.
protect
Here's a
my
great
rights as
movie.
a man here. But 3 years ago, when this union told we man hares that we were to stop having intercourse with underage girls, I strongly disagreed.
Oh my God!
But I did not stand up.
I don't think we were.
He stood down.
I stood down.
He stood down.
What, do you want to ruin the whole thing? What's that?
We weren't still freebasing in 91, so you probably weren't.
What?
I think it was crack then at that point. Same thing, but
I was not humping Marshall Stacks for scratch acid with you in Austin at that time.
No, that was a little earlier. But yeah,
he didn't deny it, folks. Of course, how can we trust him when he's a murderer?
it's cold in here.
So we do have some suggestions for room 7609 we will get to, and deep. The guys from Arkansas, I don't know.
You don't think there's somebody named Mike or Mark out there who killed people?
No, there's not.
No
Not with
shit.
a C.
Yeah.
Crazy.
maybe, but there's no MLs.
Well, you're not an ML either. You're fucking Mike.
I don't know if I'm having.
I mean,
intercourse.
Michael. I guess I could call you Michael if you'd like. That's fine.
I'm doing a Google search. Murderers named Mark.
How about Mikey?
Well, your initials are SM, so that makes you S and M.
They are. What's the M?
Isn't it Michael? Aren't you Sean? Oh, is that the murderer? Is Michael?
Yeah, exactly. Not me.
What's your middle name?
Patrick.
Patrick. Okay. Anyway, I wish we had that 30 seconds back, but we want to invite you to make some suggestions for room 7609. We have a few in the queue. We will get to those. We appreciate you supporting all these parts of the show. And you can send us your suggestions and your feedback at mlsoulofdetroit@gmail.com. We have an opportunity during the show to thank donors, so that's all set up. We just don't have any donors this week, so we're going to speed through that with one brief reminder that you can donate by going to mlsoulofdetroit.com. There's a little donate button at the top. We will soon be adding a Venmo option. Venmo, I'll just tell you, is very difficult to deal with for business. So you will be able to donate through Venmo, but you're going to have to look for something called Daisy House LLC. Very confusing, very complicated. I know Mark will make sense of it, and we look forward to it.
Do you think if it were Mikey's Soul of Detroit, the donations might improve? You might just have a little more empathy for Mikey.
I think there might be some pedos who follow us.
That
then.
ML sounds a little,
Authoritative.
Pompous?
I was
What?
going to say.
Who? Huh? Who said that? What are you talking about?
I thought,
I have to check my thesaurus, but I didn't.
Elitist? What?
Doesn't sound like a synonym for cool.
pretentious? No.
No one thought it was.
Somebody did. He's got fantastic hair. I want to.
Okay, Hermie.
I want to set the record. Oh, by the way, there's a giant Hermie statue I saw in front of an
Stop distracting
orthodontist
him.
office.
Oh, yeah? That's
I'm going to go get a
fascinating.
picture with it. It's It's life size.
Oh, there's the music. Yes.
So we have a correction to make. Last week, we gave credit to listener Kevin for sleuthing out Shawn's murderous past. If you want to know more about that, check out last week's episode. But we got a note from Kyle that says, "My name is Kyle, not Kevin. I demand a correction." Correction made. Kyle also told us at the close of the year that I love my Soul of Detroit sweatshirt. I always get compliments on it. The color's perfect, and I love pledging my allegiance to the show. Shawn Windsor's the broken clock of the show, meaning twice a day he is right. Merry Christmas, friends.
Does it really say
that?
that?
It does, yeah.
No, it doesn't. Let me see it.
Check it out. So thank you, Kyle. We are working on making our merchandise available for you soon, but if there's something you'd like, just send us a note. We'll tell you what we got.
Wait, I'm right twice a day?
Well, he's half right.
Well, that's about how often I speak. So
he uses a 24-hour clock, just like Belvin does. We also heard from Damon, who writes, "Yesterday, meaning last week, Geek of the Week was spot on. That's where I named the guy who went to the grocery store armed to the teeth." Damon says, "I am an NRA lifer, and there is no need to carry all that to the grocery store. Carry one and leave the rest at home in a safe. And my God, you hate U of M football. Yeah. Is that a required class to take for all MSU football grads?"
No, you're far worse than any Spartan fan or graduate that I know.
I don't hate U of M football.
What was the first word you used to describe that?
I don't remember.
A big M with a P?
I forget.
O? M?
Punctilious. I hate arrogance. I hate hypocrisy, and I hate double standards. If that's U of M football, then I'm guilty as charged. And I think it is.
Is there such a word as pompousness?
If it is, that's what ML stands for.
This is outrageous. This is
as
Lord Michael used to say, "Give me back my show!"
I have some feedback that
yes, please.
I think segues nicely from there.
Go forth.
Pat writes, Mark nailed it as usual. Somehow ML made the Damar Hamlin story about him.
I did administer CPR.
90 seconds on into the story, 20 minutes of ML telling a whopper about the Uri Fisher collapse and something about a spider bite in a bowl of soup. Fisher collapses, ML springs into action. He waits in line at a souvenir stand to buy a pen set. He uses the back of the ticket and things in his wallet to make notes on that he just witnessed, then calls into the free press. Why not just call the free press? What did he fit on the back of the ticket? And a receipt from Lover's Lane?
This is outrageous. Actually, my dad used to own a lingerie store, so I would not go to Lover's Lane. But, you know,
for starters, there's no room to write anything on the back of a ticket.
Let me just sort of put this in perspective.
This isn't for conversation. It was just a statement.
Not anybody could have bought that pen.
A declarative statement.
I do say,
what was his name? What was that listener?
Pat.
Oh, Pat.
He does bring up a good point, though. Why didn't you just call?
Pat.
Why didn't you just call the free press instead of taking notes down?
Because I was interviewing people, just what they saw, what they thought, and after the game, I found a way out to where the buses load up for the teams. And Barry,
I remember you saying that.
They were playing the Predators. And no, I didn't mention this part last week. I got out there just as the players were loading onto the bus, and I asked Barry Trotz, any comment on this, and he was like stunned, like everybody else, just like, we wish him the best, and they got and I went out there and I tried to catch where the players, because at the Joe they used to park there right off of Eiserman Drive. You could tell because they were all the BMWs and the Porsches and all that, and I went to try and get some of the players as they were leaving, and they all got, there was like this convoy of really high-end cars driving as fast as they could to the hospital. And I guess I was going to take some notes, but I didn't because they were driving too fast. So did I just make that all about me again?
No, it's okay. So I have some feedback. Or do you want to have?
I have a question that
I need to change. I need to look very closely at myself.
I have a question that I think segues out of this, and I think it'll get Shawn's blood maybe.
So more of a statement.
I think
hopefully,
it might,
not a question.
I think it might get your blood going. What did you make of the NFL's Sunday and how they handled Damar Hamlin?
What do you mean? People wearing number 3 and that sort of thing?
Just how the NFL handled it, and particularly before the Lions game, the moment of recognition, which no one knew if that meant a moment of silence, or if we're supposed to cheer or whatever that is.
It didn't bother me.
You didn't think it was overdone? I've had a bunch of people say they thought it was overdone, and they're kind of sick of it.
I don't know. That to me speaks to a larger lack of empathy.
Well, we knew he was. I think those people are saying we knew he was okay by that point. It was horrific.
What's wrong with honoring him for 30 seconds? I'll
tell you what my problem is with it.
Honor him for almost dying. What did he do other than almost die? I mean, maybe to encourage him or to send him some well wishes is one thing, but
plays in the league in the next round of games, they mention him and honor him for 30 seconds.
I just think it's a little performative by the NFL to pretend like they care that much about players' health.
That's what some people have said is instead of highlighting that the game is dangerous and what they're going to do to make it safer, instead they tried to make it all, oh, he's okay, it's great. This brings us all together.
I'm sure it will be forgotten the next time the collective bargaining agreement's up and they want something like guaranteed contracts when players get injured all throughout.
No, there's no question, but can't you do both? Right.
No, but I think it's more egg on the NFL's face because I don't think that many people buy into it.
If anybody,
what?
If people don't know by now that
Damar Hamlin's recovery to make the NFL
but everything
look great.
is that way. The flyovers are that way. The Star Spangled Banner, the national anthem is that way, right?
Yeah.
Why do we need to gather 60,000 Americans and then sing? This is a great place, and why do we need to see our Jets?
I've gotten yelled at for saying this, but I'll say it again. I don't think they need to do the national anthem before every game.
Everybody there presumably likes being in the country.
I think it should be done before special events because to make it a little more special.
Yeah, or international events.
I've seen plenty of people yapping or on their phone or leaving their hat on while it's going on.
World
it's
Cup,
almost like people just disrespect it.
Yeah, international events do the various songs.
My understanding is
big events though.
They play the national anthem in the big house so that America can be honored by being present at U of M football games.
Well, that may well be. As far as the flyovers and or the parachuters that come down occasionally,
you get
that's
that,
all
Damon?
But that's
a contract with the military.
That's objectively badass and cool.
It's
that is pretty cool.
Well, the NFL's got a contract with the military, right? So that's.
Yeah, but I'm talking about. And I know.
Look, I love watching fighter jets. I mean, it's part of my youth.
No. I want to go back.
I
mean, that's off the topic. It's more about how over the top the Damar Hamlin stuff may or may not have been.
If anything, if I was Damar and his family, I'd be upset about getting pimped out by the NFL, where this is another chance for the NFL to try and drive home some point that we really care, we're sensitive. Maybe they should have honored first responders because those are the folks who saved his life, or done something to promote his foundation. That would have been a great thing for the NFL to say, hey, by the way.
No, for sure. Can't they do all that, though? I mean, I don't think the players probably mind if they honor him for a second.
I think acknowledging him is important because the whole country was captivated by that.
Sure was.
The only thing that got more attention was my Yuri Fisher story, which obviously people were riveted about. They were still talking about it after the podcast.
Or was it Quay Walker? Was it Quay Walker who pushed? Was that?
Yeah.
Who pushed?
Hilarious.
Pushed the trainer in the back?
Did that cost the Packers the playoffs?
No.
You don't think so?
No, they had other opportunities.
Really? Because
no one play ever cost a team.
I don't know.
Well, sometimes
Wolverines fans.
Very rarely. Very
but
rarely.
it took a good player out of the game. It extended the drive. I mean, that could have been pivotal.
It was a huge factor, but I don't think that was the game.
Okay.
Trying to remember, did that
Every
lead to a
play's
field
not done
goal?
in a-
Was
in
that
a vacuum.
Did that lead to a field goal? I can't remember.
I think it moved him up, didn't
Yes.
it? Wasn't there
Yeah.
a 15-yard penalty? And
Ate up more of the clock too.
yeah.
Anyway.
Okay. So and Shawn, did you have some feedback?
I did. Hopefully,
I think it's just
Hopefully
a yes or no
what?
question. You do have some feedback. The question now is, are you going to read
If we
it?
can set a time limit on this, because it's about your
3
school
minutes.
again.
Well, you're kind of drawing it out here. Maybe if we just get to it.
Just leery. ML.
And that's our feedback, Cyrus.
Yeah, we don't need the.
That's what you do to him.
We don't need the foreplay. Start a boning.
I said the two best letters in the alphabet. I said ML, and I think we're done now.
No objection. You finally.
They
you
go
finally
together so
getting it.
well. We should just
They do.
reverse the alphabet from now on.
They do. Like peanut butter and honey. I am in full agreement with you about the erosion and perversion of college athletics.
Meaning in full agreement with me.
Yeah, that's ML.
You're wrong-headed, Sean
This is from
Windsor.
Taylor.
Sean Patrick.
And last night
Morrissey.
showed the world college football is dead.
Huh?
MSU giving $95 million guaranteed to 7L Mel and $1 million a year to the retired MSU security guard turned athletic director Alan Heller is all just a big scam. Talented statewide writers like you and Sean should be calling out this public corruption racket. Enough is enough. So college football has been $1 billion+ business for decades, and now we're upset.
I was upset before, but
I mean, thank you for the feedback, Taylor.
What does last night's game have to do with it?
Is it? When did this email come in?
Oh, that's a good question.
Do we know?
Is there a date on the top?
It should have a date on it.
It came in this morning, so
Yeah,
I guess
so
last
they're
night.
referring to the championship game. But
So he's upset because it was 65-7. I take it.
Or maybe the whole consumerism aspect of it. I don't know. It's big. The fact is, TV has made it a massively big business. It's huge.
Yeah, and I am sick of universities supporting athletic programs instead of athletic programs supporting universities.
But there are, as we've mentioned numerous times, athletic departments.
That's not how it works.
Self-sufficient.
Yeah, but go ahead.
Major universities.
Keep going.
are.
Keep going.
They could subsidize universities then, but we have also discussed, and my friend Raj mentions this all the time, and I agree that universities rake in way more money as an institution when people feel good about their athletic programs.
Yeah, so it all works in concert with each other.
I guess it does. And
But, Sonny Dykes.
Thank you though for the feedback.
Sonny Dykes makes about what about 1/8 of what Mel Tucker makes.
So that means he makes.
He just got a bump in salary.
1/10 of what Jim Harbaugh makes, because wasn't he paid $10 million last year?
You mean Denver's new coach?
Is he?
I think
there's a report that says he's the top leader in the clubhouse, so to speak.
I got to tell you, look, there's a couple.
I wish you weren't a liar.
Couple
I want
things
to hear
going on
that
with
drop.
Harbaugh. This is his first time using an agent in a while, right? From what I understand,
Right.
he didn't use one in 2015 or 2020. So immediately when you hear agent, you think, is this some kind of leveraged move to get more where he's at? But I think he's just kind of sick of coaching college football. It's hard. You have NIL now. It's kind of the Wild West. Now he's got these investigations. Why would you want to deal with it? What is he, 60? Is that how old he is now? Or almost
59.
50, yeah. 50.
So this is his last shot of going back to the NFL. And you know what? As a Michigan fan, I'll admit I wanted him gone after 2020. Did a great job the last 2 years. I don't care if he leaves.
Oh, I wanted him back after 2020. Now I hope he signs an
but
extension.
that's the point. He turned it around. The last 2 years have been two of the best back-to-back years in my life that I can really remember.
Most wins in Michigan football history for 2 years, right?
They play more games now. So
they do, but
there's
that's
a little bit of
that's pretty good.
Did you have more fun watching the?
And he's followed
Michigan
right
Ohio
in his
State game?
hero's footsteps. He has a
The
good
Lions,
season
Packers
and then chokes in the playoffs.
Is that a real question?
Yeah.
Oh, Michigan, Ohio State. Even if Michigan lost, I probably would have. That game just means so much to me for so many different reasons. It's a personal thing. I'm not going to make it all about myself.
I see.
Remember, I grew up a Buckeye fan.
I was just curious.
I grew up a Buckeye fan and switched to a Michigan fan when I went to school. So that is the mentality that I struggle with. Anyway, what's going on?
All right,
Where are we
what's
at?
what are we doing now?
Well, I just wanted to fill in a blank that I think I left from last week where there was a lot of mention about Hunter Dickinson, and I didn't provide the proper context. So if you were lost in that discussion.
He's the center for Michigan.
He's the center for Michigan who was talking a lot of shit on social media about Michigan State has one good season. They think they're really good, and we expose them. And I guess he was talking about
football. Yeah, uh-huh.
But he's going out there and giving that typical U of M arrogance. And what happens right after that? They get smoked by Central Michigan. Then Michigan loses to TCU. Then he goes to the Breslin. From what I understand, he got booed like no one's ever gotten
two
boozed.
games that he was really good at against Maryland.
They really beat Maryland.
No, and I was
And
really
they beat
worried
Penn
about him.
State.
So what I wanted to mention about Hunter Dickinson, other than he got a kick in the ass, which he deserved because he should have put his foot somewhere in his own mouth. But
can I ask you a question? Does that really bother you that he said the things he says, or is that just
No, I love what he said because it just epitomized what I've been saying on this show for months, that Michigan fans are arrogant. They talk shit and they can't back it up.
Did?
No, because this guy speaks for millions of Michigan fans. This guy is the avatar for all these clowns who talk
State
yang.
never talks.
No, we do, but I'm just saying this whole, they have one good.
And then okay, but
And he gets put in his place.
Then you have
immediately.
Izzo doing his coach's show. He's like, "We're gonna win with class, blah blah blah," and we have 2 tunnels. It's like, okay, so are you mad at him for talking garbage?
No, I think he was just trying to reassure those cowardly Wolverines that there will be no harm.
You just don't like it because he's not on your team. And you know what? If Hunter Dickinson wasn't a Michigan guy, I probably wouldn't like him either because he's that abrasive kind of guy, like a Draymond Green.
This is
what I wanted to get to.
Oh wait, we have another thing to get to.
We're getting to your part now. He was a great player, He owned Michigan State and Ann Arbor last year. I did not see that much of him in the first half, and I'm just wondering, because when he came in the second half, he kind of took over the game a little bit.
Well,
what was going on there?
He was in a little foul trouble, and his and Reed, the center coming off the bench, actually was pretty effective. So, yeah, they were doubling Hunter, and he struggled a little bit early. And if I'm not mistaken, I'm trying to remember if he was in foul trouble or not. But the backup, Reed, right, is his last name. He wasn't bad. Probably his best game.
Another big white boy, right?
No, he's not white.
Who was the big, tall, white dude that they had in there?
Shetter?
Yeah.
Is that it?
Yeah, something like that. I didn't even see the game on Saturday.
It was not a great game.
I forgot about it.
We don't. Yeah, need to.
It was not a wonderful exhibition of basketball.
A lot of missed shots. Good defense, relatively speaking, and
I know.
Good energy.
All ML talked about was the bad Michigan player. He didn't talk about any of his Spartans that played well.
Good.
So because you hate Michigan more than you love State.
No, that's not true. But
It's
Dickinson
so true.
did 51-49. But Dickinson then went and talked some shit about Wisconsin, who's a pretty formidable team.
51-49 supposed to hurt me? What?
No. I'm just saying there's a majority
That's
there.
the breakdown? Okay.
But one of the things I wanted to ask Shawn, because not only is he a very excellent sports writer, but he can see into people's souls. Is
No, not really, but
is Dickinson trying to create? Is he trying to be a villain? I mean, is this gratuitous? Is this part of a shtick? Because before this season, I never heard this kind of stuff from him.
I don't think it's all shtick, but he definitely leans into it.
This is how
from him before.
To me, this is generally how it works. Somebody is themselves, and they get a certain reaction. Not necessarily looking for that reaction initially. Maybe in public life in some way. I mean, Hunter Dickinson just speaks his mind, says what he thinks, and he's got some scrappiness to him. He starts to get a reaction to it. Sorry, Mark. And then maybe he leans into that a little bit. But I think it's authentic from the get-go.
Just ask Maryland fans about him, right? Because they don't like him at all because they didn't recruit him, and he really talked a lot of shit every time he played at Maryland and against Maryland.
So I think he was just being his authentic, sort of competitive self.
He's very abrasive, kind of a guy.
And then as he gets pub and sort of starts to get the booze and stuff, he leans into it, like Bill Laimbeer did.
So using that, you love Room 7609.
It depends on the week. I like the idea of it.
People say
I
they
like Cyrus more.
You don't like the songs, and then you lean into it, but you really love all these new wave music selections. This is just your little wrestling persona.
I love a lot of the bands that you select. Yeah, maybe not necessarily the songs we play, but I like the
nice compliment.
Yeah, like I love the Church.
Shawn Dickhead and
I like this. I like the Smiths. You know,
I stood down.
I think that's good advice.
We played Elvis Costello today. I don't have any. You know, I'm good.
You risked a bladder infection, a urinary tract infection to hear the beginning of
a little bit. I did. Well, as soon as I heard, I'm like, oh yeah, nice.
He was going with the flow, folks. In one sense.
You ain't cool unless you pee your pants.
So we need to thank the listeners, right?
I think so.
Everybody my age pees their pants. It's the coolest.
We appreciate their indulgence. And one of these days, some of them are going to call us at 313-288-9070. That's Butterfield 89070. So thank you for checking out this show. Gregg Sutter had a good time on the show. He already let me know we are going to have him back when the memoir is ready. If you are listening to the show, please give us a watch. It's a fun show to watch on YouTube or on Facebook. And please like, rate, and share the show. We haven't had a new rating in a while. We're up to, I think, 596 ratings. We'd love to get to 600. And until next week.
Oh, wait, Shawn has one more thing to say.
I need to pee all I can pee.
Cyrus.
Sorry, I'm entertaining myself over
Cyrus, expand his urethra.
Can you dig that? Can you dig it? Can you dig it?
Podcast is hard, ain't it?
Did you take a peek inside the soul of
Shawn Windsor?
I'm just gonna let that old dog lie.
ML Soul of Detroit, the complete first season.
You seem to be harboring a bit of hostility there, brother.
So I've been told.